All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Spring Beach Family Summit. We're really happy to have you all here. For those of you who have joined us before, you know what's to come. For those of you who this is your first time, welcome. I'm Nina Luxon. I am the program coordinator for New Student and Family Programs here at Cal State Long Beach, and I mainly work with you all. I work with parents and families throughout the year and throughout the summer. So if we have met already, good to see you all again. But we are really looking forward to hosting this virtual session for you all to talk about a few things that we have this evening, which is academic support. So we have a representative here with us, Alejandra, from our undergraduate office or Office of Undergraduate Advising, and they will support talking about academic support. How are we supporting your students academically? Also, what does advising and registering for classes look like post that first year? Then we will have a presentation from our Career Development Center, who will be talking to you all about how do we make sure your students are getting jobs and internships, how to do a resume, things like that. And then we will end it off with our Study Abroad office coming and talking about opportunities for education abroad. And at the very end, we will have a quick what's next for parent and family programs that will tell you all about the exciting things we have coming up. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Alejandra to begin their session about advising. If you all have questions throughout today's presentations, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box at the bottom, and we are happy to answer those questions for you. But thank you all so much. I'll hand it over to Alejandra.
Thank you so much, Nina. So, welcome everybody. My name is Alejandra. I am here representing the University Center for Undergraduate Advising. Hopefully, everybody can see my screen, and if you can't, please let me know in the chat and I'll take a look. But today we're going to be talking about academic advising, right, and what that looks like. Um, our office, we mainly deal with undeclared students and students exploring majors, but I'll kind of go over a few of the other advising offices and kind of what that looks like. So, why is advising important, right? So advising is super important here at CSULB because we want to make sure that your students and students in general, right, are meeting their goals, but at the same time, meeting those goals, navigating all the requirements and university policies that no one really teaches us about, right? That's what advisors are here to help you with, right? Navigating all the extra stuff. At CSULB, advising is mandatory for all first year students. So definitely that's going to be a key takeaway from this presentation. Make sure that if you're a student, check your CSULB Outlook email regularly to make sure you're not missing anything. And if you're a parent or a supporter of a student here at CSULB, making sure that you check in with your student and say, hey, have you met with your advisor this semester, right? That is a key component of being successful here at CSULB. So if you're not sure, right, or as a student, if you're not sure where you can find advising, or if you're not sure, my student is part of the psychology pre-major, where do they go for support, right? You can always find their assigned advising center by scanning the QR code on the top right-hand corner. I will be adding links at the end of this presentation to the chat, so you can always click on those as well. But every college houses a unique set of majors, right? Just depending on what major your student is interested in or you as a student are interested in is where you would go for advising. If you're exploring majors or we're not yet meeting certain requirements to be in a pre-major or fully declared as a major here at CCLB, that's where you come to us, right? UCUA, University Center for Undergraduate Advising. So what we do for our undeclared or exploring students, at our office, you get assigned a primary advisor. We have online and in-person appointments for students and drop-in hours. We help students explore their major, not only through taking on key GE courses, general education courses, but also making sure that we understand the policies and why we have to take certain courses at a specific time, right? And we just generally try to make sure that you are on track to meet certain requirements for your intended major, right? If you ever have questions or you're not sure where to go, you can always come and visit us in our office. Our website is on the screen, and we can help guide you on exactly where you need to go. So a little bit about the major declaration process itself, right? At CCLB, it can be a little bit confusing and daunting, especially in your first year when we're not sure what does a pre-major mean? What does being undeclared mean, right? Undeclared is simply you're exploring majors or you're working to fulfill certain requirements, major specific requirements, to be in a pre-major or fully declared by the time you earn 60 units, right? Our ultimate goal is to be fully declared by the time you earn 60 units as a student here at CSULB. And that's why, again, visiting your advisor often and asking any questions is super important to make sure we meet that benchmark, okay? Being in a pre-major, all that means is that you have to meet specific requirements within the first few semesters so that you are on track to declare. And again, our undeclared students are usually exploring majors, but also might be interested in an impacted major like nursing or psychology. And we just have to meet certain requirements before we get to that next step. If you're at all curious about what major specific requirements you have to meet by the time you earn 60 units as a student, right? Or if you're curious about what your student has to take on in the first few semesters here at CSULB, you can always scan this QR code to see the major specific degree requirements. That usually includes a cumulative GPA. Every major has a specific GPA that a student must meet by the time they earn 60 units. Some majors have sweet GPAs, which is just a combination of your course grades for a specific few courses and what that GPA looks like. A lot of majors have very specific major courses that have to be taken on within their first few semesters here. And all majors have to meet, require that students meet foundation GE courses within their first year, ideally, but before you declare at the latest. So take a look at what an example of this would look like. For example, psychology, right? Very common major, super awesome major. They have their own advising center in the College of Liberal Arts. But when we're looking at what requirements they need to meet by the time you earn 60 units, right? You have to have an overall GPA of a 2.5, right? And you have to take a series of psychology courses in order to declare, along with our general education courses at the bottom, right? English composition, critical thinking, oral communications. Statistics is part of this portion as well, right? But and it gives you GE credit. So this is why it's super important to meet with an advisor as often as possible, just to make sure you're on the right track. We want to make sure that you prioritize these courses versus just general education courses at the beginning, which can be tempting to do, but not always the smartest choice if we're trying to declare on time. So again, if you are a student and you're at all contemplating exploring majors or looking at alternatives to something that you thought maybe you wanted to pursue, but maybe now you're like, hey, I'm open to and interested in learning a little bit more about other options on campus, always come visit us, right? In UCUA, we can help you with the major exploration process. There are a lot of different gears at play here that can help us figure out what suits your needs and your goals best, right? So we're going to use a combination of, meeting with academic advisors like myself, meeting with career counselors, right? Taking certain assessments to kind of figure out what your goals are and things of that nature. So always, the earlier we know, the better. Come in and talk to us whenever you have questions and we can assist. A little bit more about campus resources, right? Our goal is always to facilitate, being on top of our academics, right? So if you find yourself in a class that, maybe we're struggling a little bit, or if you see that your student who is telling you, hey, this class just really is not clicking well with me, right? I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I need additional support. There is a ton of tutoring on this campus, and all of the tutoring on campus is completely free. So you can scan the QR code, you can find the specific tutoring centers for specific courses. And again, I'm going to keep saying this throughout the presentation. An advisor is here to help you. So if you're not sure where to go, definitely come visit us because we can direct you to the exact tutoring center that you need to go. There's tutoring for pretty much every class on this campus, so don't be scared to ask. Again, take advantage of that resource that your tuition pays for, right? Free tutoring. So come on in and we'll help you out. There are also resources geared not only to your academics, but also to like health and wellness, right? Additional resources like basic needs, counseling and psychological services, right? If students feel like they need accommodations for specific courses, Bob Murphy Access Center is a great resource. The Dream Success Center is also available. You can always scan this QR code and find different resources on campus that are not necessarily just academics based, but also making sure that you feel comfortable as a student and feel part of this community. A few important reminders, right? AP scores, transfer credit, if you have any of those, make sure that you submit them directly to CSULB. AP scores must come from College Board, right? So log into College Board if you haven't already, submit those AP scores. Even if your transfer credit and AP scores are reflected in your high school transcripts, the only way to get credit, college course credit, is to submit the AP scores from College Board, and the transfer credit has to come from the community college or university that you attempted the courses at, okay? And if you have any questions about that, definitely reach out to us and we can assist you with that process. Again, I'm going to link here the QR code as well for how to find your advising center. If you have questions or if you're not sure if we have your AP scores or transfer credit on file, definitely meet with your advisor to double check that before you start planning for the fall semester. All right, so I know I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, but all students who are in their first year are required to meet with an academic advisor or meet some sort of mandatory advising requirements in order to successfully register for the fall 2026 courses, right? So if you're a first year student and you're not sure if you've met the requirements, double check your Outlook email, right? Our office, we require students to meet with us one-on-one in individual appointments, but other offices across campus might do workshops or they might do some different email campaigns to send out important reminders. So double check that you're meeting those reminders, meeting those requirements so that you can ensure that you register on time for the fall semester. One way to double check if you've met the requirements is to see if you have a hold on your account. So if, as a student, if you log into your single sign-on MyCSULB, your online portal, you're going to be able to see on the right-hand side a box that says holds. You should see no holds on there. If you see a hold on there, that means we have some work to do. We have something to do, either meeting with an advisor, or we might have other accounting holds, anything like that. You can always click on that box and see a little bit more info about what this hold is regarding, and it'll direct you where to go to get the hold resolved. Okay. Making sure that the holds are cleared is super important as early as possible because again, you don't want to delay registering for the fall semester. That is coming up, right? That registration process will happen within the next few weeks. Another important reminder that I wanted to bring up is that if you as a student or if parents, family members notice that a student is really struggling with the class or something happens, right? Life happens, something that we don't anticipate kind of comes up, please have students come in to talk to us in our advising offices to talk about potentially submitting a withdrawal from a class, right? A withdrawal just means that you are dropping the class after the first 2 weeks of the semester. It does have to be approved by an instructor and by the department, but we go over that. It's a quick process and they're there for us to use them in cases of emergencies, right? Where something happens or we just are really struggling with the class. A withdrawal is really beneficial to avoid getting potentially a D or a failing grade in that course. So don't worry, this you don't have to memorize all of these things, right? Again, this is why us as advisors are here to help you with, but withdrawals are there for us to use if we need to. All right. Questions, concerns, anything we want to go over. I think one of the main things that I want to highlight before we kind of get to some of the questions that we might have is if you have any questions, you can always email our AA advising email at cclb.edu. I can also link my personal email in the chat as well in just a moment, because if questions will come up. If you don't know where to go, I can help direct you to that session location. On this QR code once again is how to find your academic advisor depending on your major of interest. And I will go ahead and take a look at the chat. All right. Does anybody have questions? I'm going to go ahead and start adding the links to the chat as we go along, but anything that I can kind of highlight or go over a little bit more?
I have a question, just so
Yes.
that we can get our brain juices flowing. If you have a student who maybe is in their first year or their second year and they are really struggling in any of their classes, what's the first step? What do you suggest that these students do?
Yeah, so if you as a student or if you're a parent or supporter of a student who is really struggling in their class, especially about after that transitional semester, that first semester, right? Always come and talk to an advisor because we can always refer you to the necessary resources on campus and we can help you navigate the situation depending on what our goal is, right, for the semester or trying to figure out next steps to minimize any potential damage in the long run, right? Life happens. Everything takes an adjustment, especially being a college student in this day and age. Don't be scared to come and ask us questions. We've seen it all at this point, right? So if students are really struggling and they just need support, we're here to help, right? We want to be a resource to you all. We want to make sure that we get you that support as soon as possible. And again, advising appointments are super helpful. Every college has their own advising center. Again, I work specifically with undeclared students or students exploring, but we are all open to answering quick questions or referring you to the appropriate advising center whenever you have those questions. Um, I do see a question in the chat. Are all advising appointments done in small groups? No, actually. So it really just depends on the assigned advising center, right? Again, in our office, we tend to do individual one-on-one appointments. There are a few instances where we do offer workshops with groups of maybe 10, 15 students. Other offices on campus, advising offices on campus might be offering workshop style appointments, but every every advising center on campus will be available for quick drop-in sessions throughout the semester, right? So if you want to have a quick one-on-one with an advisor, you can always refer to the advising center's website and their drop-ins are always going to be listed there. I will put my email in the chat for everybody just in case you have additional questions that come up or you want to get some additional support there. But I hope that answers your question about individual advising appointments and the group sizes. Yeah, so if your son, Tiffany, I believe, right? If your son has done advising appointments so far in small groups, depending on their major of interest, we can refer them to their drop-in advising, which is going to be more of a one-on-one basis, right? Drop-in advising does vary from center to center. Usually per week, drop-in advising is updated on their website. Tiffany, if you'd like to send me a quick message or an email, I'd be happy to share the contact information and kind of connect you with the appropriate advising center so that your son can request an individual appointment.
Also, for everybody, I have dropped in the chat and I can drop it again a link from the academic resources, the
Yes,
academic affairs office. And this website is really awesome. It's a really great webpage that says anything you need to know about tutoring, advising, the academic calendar, academic technology, professional development, and then anything related to enrollment. And they're all in drop-down menus. So if anybody would find that helpful, I would definitely check that link out. It'll give you all of the information you need to help your student support their academic journey.
definitely. Thank you, Nina. That website is really, really helpful. Um, any other questions?
You've got questions. Now is the time, y'all.
Right, right. We have a few minutes, so definitely please feel free. And if anybody would like to ask about us, like where to contact a specific advising center, I can go over that a little bit more as well.
So sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So my she's a freshman
Hmm.
and she has all her classes and she's happy for next year. Well, no, for August, right?
Uh-huh.
But she struggled a lot and because she said she had her appointment, for the classes.
Hmm.
And she said she was kind of like the last one. I mean, not necessarily, but that's what she thinks because her friends got the classes before her. I
Hmm.
don't know. So thanks God she already struggled and figured it out, and she fought for it. She went to talk to all the teachers, and I'm sure
Yes.
with her counselor. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so how does that work? Do they get a number, or how does that work to get the classes for each semester?
Yeah, great question. So every student is assigned their enrollment appointment, as we call it, which is the specific date and time that the student can start registering for classes for the upcoming semester. That is based on seniority, basically, right? So unit total. So if students who have a little bit more in terms of unit total or class standing, they're going to go a little bit first, right? So like seniors, quote unquote, will go first. Juniors, students who are sophomore standing, and then like freshmen standing will go towards the tail end, right? But within each category, right? If at first year students, right, there is a little bit of a lottery system, and that is assigned by enrollment services. So we don't really have control over that, unfortunately. All that to say is if especially if a student has um, transfer credit or dual enrollment, right, AP credit, make sure that all of that has been submitted because all of that will count towards their unit total and potentially bump them up to a sooner enrollment appointment.
I see. Thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
because she was crying. She was so stressed out. She's very perfectionist. So of
yes.
course it was major crisis for her, but she was able to manage and everything is okay now. Thank
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear it's a little bit better, right? But if again, if she ever has questions, definitely have her keep reaching out to their academic advisor. It's always great to connect with instructors as well, right? But usually, in terms of class availability, that is, unfortunately, the enrollment appointment is predetermined by enrollment services, and we kind of have to abide by that. I
thank you.
thank you. Yes, definitely learning to advocate for herself. I do see another question. Um, if there's a class that, we don't offer that the student would like to take at a community college, will this count towards their graduation? It depends on the class, which is why you want to connect with the academic advisor because not all community college courses will transfer into CSULB for college course credits. Unfortunately, some of them might just come in as general elective credit, which could add to their unit total, right? Help them get to that 120 unit mark to graduate. But if it's a class that is required for their major or maybe just a class that they want to take separately, we want to have that discussion one-on-one because we want to make sure that they're taking the class that will be eligible to be transferred to CSULB. Great
Sorry,
question.
so my daughter's a freshman.
Mhm.
She's 18. So does that mean that like for the next semester, when will she, I don't know, when will she register again for August? Maybe
Yeah.
May or I don't know,
So
whenever.
registration right now, mandatory advising is happening right across campus, depending
Oh,
on your daughter's major. They might have already reached out to her, or in the case for our first year students, we are going to be sending some emails in the upcoming days to get in contact with our students and have them start booking their appointments. But registration itself, right, to actually enroll in classes will happen usually either sometime early April, usually is when that kind of happens, right? And it
oh,
just is it depends on the date that they are assigned.
oh, for August? Oh, that's very early.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so we're just that's why we encourage students to meet with us as soon as possible, right? So we want to make sure we have a plan. We know what courses we want to register for, and we want to actually start adding classes to our shopping cart now so that if by the time they get their enrollment appointment, it kind of books up really quickly, we have like a backup option. Like, oh, we can swap it out for something else.
Oh,
And
okay.
I
I
also
will.
want to say, sorry, Judith, it's very soon because students that are already enrolled and coming back for the fall, let's say your student's a second year going into their third year, we want to make sure that they have all of the classes they need before over the summer we bring in all of our incoming students, right? So they're the ones that really get the classes that are at the base level or whatever they can as far as upper division courses, but we want to make sure that the students who are continuing have access to those classes, which is why the enrollment appointment is so early. So I hope that makes sense.
Really?
Yes, thank you. I will let her know to go with her advisor. So
Yes.
that this doesn't happen again, or it might happen again, but now she knows, she's prepared.
Exactly. Really quickly, just one last question that we have in the chat. Somebody asked about how we find the corresponding class at a community college or another college to check if CSULB will accept that. for the course that they need. Typically, we use assist.org, but again, it could be a little daunting to navigate the first time around. So definitely come and check in with an advisor, and we will help you figure out exactly what course you need to take at the community college to get that transferable credit.
Alejandra, I got a question. I think somebody accidentally directly sent it to me, but the
Yes.
question is, do students in the honors program have priority registration, and what does that process look like?
Yeah, so students in specific programs like honors will have priority registration. Usually, these types of priority registration allows them to go before students in their same cohort, if you like, right? So first year students, right? If you're a first year student, you might get assigned to one of the first early on days. Usually, just it fast tracks your enrollment date to be before most other students that are in similar unit totals as yourself, right? But that process is automated again by enrollment services. So if your student is in honors and they have that priority registration, they will get an early enrollment date, and they'll get that date specifically to their CSULB Outlook student email. So keep an eye out for that email because it comes from enrollment services usually around late March, and they will know exactly when they can register. But it's an automated process. They don't have to necessarily sign up for anything early on for that, as long as they're already in honors.
We have 3 more minutes, everybody, for this section. So if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat. This is the time. Because after at 4:30, we're going to move on to another section.
The PowerPoint presentation, Nina, I'm
So
not sure. Go ahead.
yeah, so okay, I'm gonna jump in here. Everybody, that's a good point. Thank you so much. Everybody who attended this presentation, our Beach Family Summits every semester, we record the entire session and we post it on our YouTube page. So I'll go ahead and get you the link for our Parent and Family Programs YouTube page, and that way you can go back and refer to any of the information that you want to. Yeah, let me just pull it up and I'll put it in the chat and you can go back and review. That will be uploaded sometime tomorrow.
And then really quickly, just before we head out to the transition to the next presentation, if students will, after their first year, will have to seek out advising on their own. Not necessarily, every advising center is different, but advising is always offered up until the time the student graduates. So typically advisors will reach out, maybe once a semester to just kind of check in and help plan for the next semester. It's just not always going to be mandatory depending on the center on campus, right? So for our office, it is mandatory for our students every semester, but once you transition into those upper division courses and you're fully declared, it kind of varies a little bit, but advising is always offered across the table.
And in the chat, y'all, I dropped the Parent and Family Programs YouTube page. And if you can't click on their link for some reason, you can always just go to YouTube and type in CSULB Parent. It'll be the first one that pops up. And this presentation will be up in the next day. And Alejandra just dropped their email in the chat again.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, Alejandra. It was great to see you.
It's great to see
And
you
thank you
all.
for everybody who joined for advising. We appreciate it. Awesome. So that was a little bit about advising, registration, academic support, things that are all obviously very necessary for your students' academic success here at Long Beach State. And again, this presentation in its entirety is being recorded and it will be posted on our Parent and Family YouTube page in the next day or so. And we are happy to give you all of that information. You can go back and review it at any time. Now we are going to transition from advising over to our Career Development Center, and they are going to talk to you all about jobs, internships, how are we making sure that we're preparing your students to be professionals, and what resources can they take advantage of while they're here at CSULB. We have a representative here, Rosa, from our Career Development Center, who is going to take it away, and if you have any questions, as always, please put them in the chat. Thank you so much.
I thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm going to share my presentation, so if you all can bear with me. Again, my name is Rosa Timoteo. My pronouns are she, her, hers, ella. I'm currently the Assistant Director of Career Education and Counseling at our Career Development Center. And for my Spanish speaking folks, bienvenidos. Me llamo Rosa Timoteo. Soy la asistente directora aquí en el centro de the Career Development Center. Si van a tener preguntas, lo pueden escribir en español y sí lo puedo contestar en español. For folks that didn't understand that, I'm just saying for our Spanish speakers, if you feel comfortable and you are willing or you would like to write your question in Spanish, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions in Spanish and then translate them all for us here. Um, so again, welcome to our portion of the presentation. We call this presentation Partnering for Success because we feel you are all partners in the success of our students, especially when it comes to careers. And I'm sure you're all very excited because our Career Development Center deals with the thing that our parents are really interested in, which is like, how's my child going to make money off of this degree? So I'm super excited to share the content with you today and kind of going a little bit over some of the meat and potatoes of what we would actually get questions from whether parents or students. So today I'm gonna show you some really cool tools on how to actually find summer and job internships. I'm gonna actually give you insider information on that and a little bit of strategy in there. I'm also gonna explain a little bit what academic credit is and how like that's different, why students would do it, right? So I'm gonna show you a little bit of the process towards that and how our center kind of like works in that area, and I'll explain a little bit more. And then, of course, we're going to show you not just our tools, but also our website where there's a bunch of checklists, resources, job boards, like all these things that are at the fingertips of our students. So you always know how to, either direct them and that, yes, there are resources. They're right there at the Career Development Center. And then we'll leave some time for Q&A. And if you see me look down, it's because I'm looking at my clock to make sure I give you all room to ask me questions. So, jobs and internships, right? So I will be very honest with my parents here. I'm very transparent. What you hear out there is true. This is a very tough job market, right? So what does that mean? It means that our students are finding it harder to get responses, even though they are applying to internships and jobs, especially for our students that are exiting their college career. It is hard, right? And one of the things that we are highly stressing, and I want you all to remember, right, is that right now, a lot of these internships that are out there are going to become the pipelines for many of our students to enter into like their first entry level career job, right? So I cannot stress enough how important it is that you tell your child, please get experience, right? You don't even have to like take it from my mouth. Like you can search any job and it says it's looking for experience, right? And what we mean, or what employers mean by experience, is those part-time jobs, the internships, volunteer work, right? These are experiences. So no longer does the degree alone give you the job. You have to be doing something during your school time, right? So unfortunately, right, what does that mean for our families? It means that for a lot of us, if your child is the person that picks up your other kids, right, their siblings, or is the one that does the grocery shopping, has a lot of responsibilities because let's face it, our families are ecosystems. We all rely on each other. Sometimes they are the reliable driver, they're the reliable person that gets things done, right? They're part of an ecosystem you have created, right? So I understand that sometimes these decisions can mean like an impact to childcare for your child's siblings, right? For maybe it means less cash coming into the home, right? So I say all of this with like kind of telling you like one, I understand that that might be the struggle, and that's a conversation to have as a family. How can we be creative in keeping our ecosystem, having still the support that we have, or maybe sacrificing a little bit of that support in order for your child to be successful after they graduate? I will tell you, it is so much more harder to get a response back if you don't have internships, don't have jobs, you don't have any type of experience. Like it is super, super hard to hear back. And I hear it from our students that come back as alumni that tell me I couldn't take an internship, right? So I say that because I want you to be aware. And if for some reason, let's say, for example, you're like, Rosa, my child cannot take internships, cannot take jobs, then please, please, um, I would say give them so much empathy when they graduate because it is harder for them to get a job. So if they can't get experiences like internships or part-time jobs during their college career, please don't expect them to have a job lined up right after they graduate. Know that they can get up to a year of being either unemployed or underemployed. Underemployed means that they are not in the career that their major is in or that they graduated from. So that's why I wanted to pause here and really stress internships are really going to be one of the ways that students are going to have a lot of leverage. Paid internships in particular are going to help them get to negotiate higher salaries too. So that's something that I really wanted to stress. I wanted to also stress that if your child is a freshman or sophomore and you're like, well, I don't have to worry too much about that because internships seem to be around junior or senior year, they can still be doing something over the summer, whether it's a part-time job, volunteer work, they're doing their own projects, right? Keep them active. Just like you kept them active in the K through 12 system, you're like, there's summer programs. They need to be working. They need to be doing something in the summer because all of those experiences are going to be helpful when they are applying to these competitive internships, right? So bottom line is always, always encourage it. Summer, winter, right? Even if it's a family business, if you're like, my child can work at, my sister's restaurant. Yes, please. It's any type of experience, right? Because what you don't want is for your child to just have the degree and then when they're building their resume, it's like that's all I did, right? So that's something that I'm highly encouraging. Now, when we're talking about summer jobs and internships, what I tell students and what I'm going to tell all of you is every time you look, it cannot be like right at the moment that you want the job. It has to be what we call a semester in advance, right? So right now, let's see if your goal or your child's goal is, okay, they're going to get a job, part-time job or an internship by the summer. Many applications, especially for high competitive companies or very notable companies, some of them started in January, right? But we're seeing the open application process happen between January, February, March, right? Big popular companies are doing that. Obviously, smaller companies will have, roll around times, meaning like they could also have opportunities, but again, not big name companies. So right now, your child, if they're looking for summer internships or opportunities, should be applying now. That means they should be coming to our center or going to our workshops to learn about like resume cover letters, knowing about the application process, how to search for jobs and internships. They should be doing that right now, right? Because this is the application season. April through May, that's when you're going to start to see your child go through the interview process, right? And as a career center, we have a bunch of things that can support them. We have workshops that talk about how to interview. We have a platform called Big Interview that you can actually have your child practice interview questions and have it give it have students again record themselves and see how they fare. We also have counseling appointments for mock interviews, right? We have again tons of resources to prep them for that, right? So April through May, again, I always tell students there's always something to do. You're either doing applications, you're studying up on the companies you're applying to, you are doing your mock interviews before you get the call, right? That should be homework. That's part of their homework. That's what they should be doing. By the end of May, early June, many companies are already releasing job offers, right? And that's how students secure summer jobs. So if your child says, Mom, I am going, or dad, or guardian, or grandma, or auntie, or whoever you are, um, or eldest sibling, I'm going to search for jobs and internships after I'm done with the semester. I'm going to tell you right now, it could get harder. If your child is thinking, I'm going to go and intern for big name companies, some of them have those windows closed. So they should not be surprised, nor you should be surprised that those opportunities have closed, because this is a recruitment process, right? The majority of companies follow this. Obviously, smaller companies can be offering opportunities here and there, but if your goal is, I want this type of company, this type of industry, you plan ahead, right? And that's what I highly encourage all my students. When you're thinking about a job, thinking about an internship, you want to think in advance, at least 3 to 6 months in advance, right? Um, so that's the insider information. Many of my parents and students are like, what? Like they come disappointed with me because they're like, well, why can't I find opportunities? I'm like, well, that's because you like you're out of the recruiting cycle. Some of the things I tell students to consider is one, please make sure all resumes, cover letters are tailored. So what does that mean? That your student is not, or your child is not going to do a general resume and then email everybody or submit that resume all the same, because most companies are using tracking systems that read the resume and they're comparing the key terms to your child's resume. So what does that mean? It means that if you just send a very general resume, you're not going to hit a lot of the key terms. So they are asking for quality tailoring. We have a tool that can help with that. That's called JobScan. Um, and again, that's something that I highly recommend. Your child can use AI to brainstorm, not to copy and paste, but to brainstorm and to find opportunities as well. So I tell folks, please use the tools around you, right? That's very normal for you to have. Like, these are tools that you should be using. I'll show you the tools and how students have used it. But again, we have JobScan to help with that resume cover letter building. Please be careful with scams. This is the time where a lot of people are just super bad and they're asking for personal information like banking information to send them a check. Do not fall for those scams. Please be aware. Indeed is full of them. I keep hearing from my students that they almost got scammed from Indeed posting. So please just be aware that there are scams out there. Anything that's asking personal information over the phone, over email, that is not part of the recruiting system. And then, of course, I tell my students, please use your parents, your legal guardians, your chosen family, eldest siblings, cousins, aunts. You are an ecosystem of opportunity. So you are parent cultural capital. So our students can leverage you. So, and I'll give you an example. One of my students, they got a really cool aerospace engineering internship with, and I forget what it was a company in Long Beach, and they were super excited, and I said, how did you find it? And they're like, well, you won't you say you won't believe it. It's like, my mom, she cleans houses for a living, and she, like, the owner, like, really loves her, and she knew that he does something related to space. And so she said, my son is learning this in Cal State Long Beach. Do you have something for him? And he's like, yeah, let me interview him, right? So please, there's, like, if you have contacts, if you are, I constantly hear my students say, oh, my mom or my dad or my cousin or so, use the network, use the network. Oftentimes that is some of the best type of job searching than even you could find on Indeed, Google, wherever, right? So I encourage that as well. Now, academic credit. Some of my folks are like, "What is academic credit? What are we doing with it? What is it? Does my student or my child have to do it?" No. Your child does not have to do academic credit. And usually when we talk about academic credit, it means that for students that find unpaid internships, some unpaid internships will say, look, we're not going to be able to pay you, but we will do academic credit. So what does that mean? It means that a student would have to take a specific internship course within their college, and they would receive academic credit for it. Now, more information is on this link, so I will make sure to send the link, but here you'll find, like, what academic credit is. It's from our Center of Community Engagement, and it looks like this. So I'll quickly switch over here. So it's part of the recording, but they have a lot of information about what is the academic internship, how do you receive credit. How we support in this process is more like we help your students find the internship, but in terms of how they get the academic credit, right, that goes through their academic departments, which we do not do, right? So I just wanted to clarify that. Um, I do recommend for my parents, because we have gotten data around this from NACE, our National Association of Colleges and Employers, that paid internships will actually help students negotiate higher job salaries. So again, conversations to be had with your child about unpaid internships. Many of my students do not look for unpaid internships, but in the rare case that it's such a great opportunity and my student really wants to do it, like they will actually apply for those unpaid internships. But I always tell them that same information, like just know that, you know, if you have 2 years, if you take one unpaid internship, okay, but make sure you do get paid internships so you're set up for success at the end. So tools, and I'm going to show you kind of like all our resources before I open up to Q&A. But I have here our Career Development Center website. This is where our students can find, literally we have a tab under students called Jobs and Internships. This is where they'll find our Succeed model, where there's literally a checklist on how you can find your dream job and internship, right? We also have job boards here based on their colleges. So if they're trying to find an internship based on their academic college, they have it right here. The other tool that our students have access to is through their My Apps. And through their My Apps, they can click on Career Link Student. And from here, they can actually go under our jobs tab. They can also find internships, jobs here. This is their job board. They can apply through our platform, or if the company has a link, it will be sent or the link will send them to the application site. So that's another way that our students can take advantage of that. Now the other thing is if, for example, your student, because of, you know, family obligations, they cannot take internships at this time or part-time jobs in the summer at this time, or maybe let's say they have been trying, but you know, it's summer, it's already like July and they're like, I can't find anything, or I'm still applying, doing all of this. Your child can still get experience on the resume by using one of our platforms, and that's going through, again, through CareerLink, going under resources, and they can actually go under a platform called Forage, right? So Forage is a job simulator. So these are real companies that created projects for your student. They're at their own pace, meaning they can take it at their own time. It's not graded, there's no assessments, and then at the very end they can add it onto their resume, and this platform will show them how to put it on their resume and also how to talk about it in the interview. So that's something that I recommend my students. If like, hey, there's no excuse, you can at least be doing job simulations to add on to your resume. So again, we're not in that predicament that they graduate and they have nothing on the resume. Now, the other thing that I was mentioning to you in the presentation was we have additional tools to support your student when it comes to like the resume. So in the same area, we have JobScan. This is a really cool tool. It actually looks at the resume of your child and it compares it to the job description. So it gives a match number, right? So this is meant to simulate what it would look like if your child submitted the application to the company and how much they would match, right? So I'm going to give you an example. So here you'll see at the very bottom that your child can upload their resume. They can copy and paste the part-time job description or internship description. And then what you'll see is I'm going to show you a quick history, and let me pull one without any student information here. And this is one that's made up, but it's a real company. So what the system will do is that it will look at the job description. It will start to calculate how many key terms are being used in the resume. You'll see the resume here on this end. And it will also tell your child, hey, here are the things that are missing. Maybe you do have them, but you forgot to add them. So you can actually put them on here, right? And your child can go back, edit the bullet point, and have that again have that number increase, so it increases their chance for a call for an interview. This also helps with cover letters. It takes what the resume has and it gives them a sample cover letter, so they can kind of start with. I always tell students it's the skeleton version. You still have to go back and edit it. But again, this is such a game changer because oftentimes our students are submitting the resume. They don't know that they have used a template on Word, on Google Doc, and their resumes are blank. So this system will show them, hey, It's in a template. We couldn't read the information on your resume. It also helps build the resume. It also even looks at LinkedIn to help them optimize their LinkedIn as well. And I know we're not going to cover LinkedIn today, but a lot of our students are using that so recruiters can reach them, right? So this is a powerhouse tool that I highly recommend. I'm at the 4:50 mark, so I will actually open it up for questions. And I will make sure, I think I have some on the chat here as well. And then is freshman too early for internships? And then also the other question is there a website I recommend to look for summer jobs or internships where they go for mock interviews, resume, cover letter, advice? Okay, so for the first question, it's a really good question. Some companies are not looking for freshmen, and there's a reason why. Um, they are looking for folks that are ready in their upper division courses because that's actually when they're practicing their major and area of academic concentration. So for our freshmen, we usually recommend one, you can still do a general search, and I would ask ChatGPT. Your students have your child has access to ChatGPT, so I would even ask it like, hey, pull for me companies that currently hire freshmen for internships, right? They can do that search. They can look at the companies. They can narrow down their search as well. But that's something that I recommend. But it is a little harder for our freshmen. I also recommend this is the time where take those part-time jobs, do the volunteer work, get involved in student organizations related to your academic concentration, because a lot of student orgs bring in alumni that have graduated and they're coming back already in jobs, having known that maybe there's positions or internships, and they will pass down the line, hey, like there's an internship here. And that's where your child can network with that alumni and say, hey, I'm a freshman. What do you recommend? Can I job shadow you, right? This is where they have to be a little out there entrepreneurial and be like, I can use my network to actually find opportunities. So please encourage your child to do that. Um, and then the website I recommend would be CareerLink. And then for mock interviews, they can schedule an appointment with us. So on their My Apps, they have a platform called Beach Connect, and you'll see the administrator side, so I will not open my side, but there they can actually pick career counseling as an appointment, and then they can book a mock interview with us. I recommend that the moment they start searching, they should be booking an appointment. They should not wait for the phone call, because that's usually the mistake. We're booked 2 to 3 weeks out sometimes, and some of our students are looking for a mock interview, but we're booked. So I tell students, as soon as you start searching for internships and jobs, and you're like, okay, I'm situated, I'm applying, I'm doing, you should schedule your appointment. You should not wait for the phone call. So please tell your child, do not wait for the phone call, schedule it, because at least students will be given, like, here are the areas you need to improve on. And if by chance they could not get a mock interview appointment with us, they at least know where they need to work on and how to start practicing on their own. And then I think I reviewed the resume and cover letter advice. I would highly recommend using JobScan. It does have a resume builder as well. Again, it could show your child where they need to kind of like fix their resume or start to incorporate those key terms. And then they always have an opportunity to have it reviewed also by one of our career peer advisors. So we do have drop-in hours Monday through Thursday from 12 to 4:30, Tuesday from 12 to 6:30, and then Friday from 12 to 3. We offer the drop-in to review resume, cover letters, and do quick questions. Virtually and in person. So if your child is not on campus, they can still reach us virtually. I highly recommend it, especially if they want that very quick. They can't get an appointment. They can get that quick insight from our staff here. Um, so for the person that has their son is an industrial design major, if you can let me know what if they're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then I can give you more resources. I would say some of your children's departments, their faculty are the best people to talk to. So industrial design is a really great example. Oh, perfect. Okay, so for the person that has their son in industrial design, they have their show. The employers are actually there, like, so I'm like, that's something that I'm like, oh, that department is really great because the work that they do, um they have employers there. So your son should actually be networking for their show. So that's something I'm going to highly recommend for you. And then the resources that would apply if he's working on his portfolio and he's a junior, my recommendation would be, especially for his portfolio, I would see if there's any, actually for portfolio, no. I would not say any of our tools will work for his portfolio. And the reason why is because industrial design is very specific and it's very niche. And especially if your son is thinking like toy design, or they're thinking, let's say, for example, automotive or footwear, the best resource to go to for portfolios is going to be to faculty. And that's what we advise our students. In the summer, before they go into summer, your son should be sitting down with their professors where they've done their projects and say, where do I need to work on to improve my portfolio, especially if I'm going into footwear? Or the questions that they should have, or they should be asking their professors are, do you have any contacts in sportswear, in automotive, in toy, in whatever industry your child is thinking of? That's actually how they should be like approaching their portfolio. And again, this is because it's super niche. For my other folks, they can take advantage of the of the tools here. Let me know if I answered your question though. Journalism major, even though she's a freshman, major declared and on track to graduate early. Okay. So if they're okay, so what I recommend for a journalism major, get involved on campus. That we have organizations like DIG, we have 22 West Media, we have like a lot of on-campus like media outlets, and I would say like even volunteering and putting themselves out there to be like, are there any opportunities for me? Like I would love to volunteer even for an event, right? This is the moment as a freshman to volunteer for events. There's a lot of things they can do. Student organizations are going to be probably the top thing I would recommend. And then part-time jobs, like they have to earn money. They probably want to save money to do some fun summer stuff. Like tell them do a part-time job because they're developing professionally right now. And I will tell you, a lot of employers are telling us professionalism is an area like our children need to work on. I have a baby now, so I'm like, I'm gonna say it. Our children need to work on. And what I mean by that is one, our children do not know how to communicate via email. They text professor, like they use text language, and to employers. They cold call employers through like in text mannerisms. Employers don't know what to do with this. They're kind of like, what is going on, right? So actually exposing even if your child worked at In-N-Out, or your child worked in retail, in hospitality, whatever it is, but it's going to help them develop the professional skills, which will make them more attractive. So that would be my recommendation. Film students, yes. Okay. So my film students, same thing if they're freshmen. If you're a college of the arts in general, your students should always be creating. That means that if there is like in summer, they should be filming something. They should be working on their portfolio. They should be like joining like clubs so they could be doing like a joint film together. That's what I would recommend for like anyone that's a film freshman. Um, and then internships for film, depending if they're on the editing track, directing, or they're doing like, depending on their track, there could be very specific things. But CSU Entertainment Alliance will be the one that a lot of our film or cinematic art majors will be going towards, because many of them will start as production assistants or PAs. And CSU Entertainment Alliance has a lot of links for film or folks that are interested in the entertainment sector. So that's what I would recommend. Um, do all departments have a show expo with potential employers? No, no. That is no, not all of them. No. And industrial design is very specific, right? They every department may have like their own events. They may not be showing it across campus. So that's why I tell students, no, like read your department emails. That's another thing. Our students do not read emails. So please, if you can, as you're having dinner with them, tell them, did you read your emails? Did you answer emails? Because oftentimes students are like, I didn't know this was here. I didn't know this happened. But we send tons of emails. The department send a lot of emails. So please, 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 as parents, please help us. Tell them to read their emails. Tell them to RSVP to events because that is the only way they take advantage of this. And then what do I recommend for business communications marketing for a freshman? Oh, a lot of good. Okay, so a lot of freshmen here. Okay, so business communications and marketing. Um, the College of Business, the student orgs, I will tell you they're on top of it. Like I would have if my son was in college at Cal State Long Beach and he chose business, I'd be like, please join a student org in business. These student orgs sometimes will bring employers on their own. They have alumni that come. And then the other thing too is that your child gets to see what the sophomore, juniors, and seniors are doing. So oftentimes they'll get more references or referrals from their peers. So I know it sounds repetitive, but it's because people don't know that right now the power of finding jobs and internships and great opportunities and opportunities that probably have not even been listed out there comes from networking, especially right now with this job market. So that would be my recommendation. I know it's 5:01. Thank you for all the questions. I'll bring it back to the new student and family programs just to make sure I'm not taking someone else's time.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rosa. I really appreciate you coming and talking with us all about career and professional development. For all of my folks in here that are interested in accessing this information afterwards, or if you have any questions, this presentation is being recorded and it'll be posted on YouTube. So it'll be posted on YouTube sometime tomorrow. So you can go ahead and take a look at that and access all of this information once again. But thank you so much, Rosa. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, everyone.
All right, all right. Hello, everybody. I know we have some new folks joining. For those of you who have stayed, I'm really glad to have you all here. We are going to now move into the next portion of our presentation this afternoon with our Education Abroad office. So they will be talking about study abroad opportunities. How can we get our students on track to applying for study abroad and what opportunities are out there, as well as deadlines and things like that. So I'm going to now go ahead and hand it over to Jess, a representative from our Education Abroad office, who will be presenting this information.
Thank you. Hello and good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for showing up for our portion for Study Abroad. My name is Jess Martin, and I work in the Education Abroad department as the short-term study abroad coordinator. I'm also joined by my colleague, Mia Ellsbury, who is an Education Abroad advisor. So I'm going to walk you guys through a short presentation. This is actually the presentation that we give to our students, so this will be really helpful for you to see as well. And this just gives them an overview of our study abroad programs. And then Mia will be able to show you our website and give you a little bit more information on that. And then, of course, we will have time for questions as well. And if you have questions while I'm presenting, feel free to drop them in the chat and Mia can answer them as well. So I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, so study abroad with California State University, Long Beach. A few factors to consider with study abroad. So first off, it counts. So all credits taken while studying abroad actually count toward the student's degree at CSULB. So they're not falling behind. They're actually staying on track while being able to travel and gain really valuable global experience. Our destinations have courses that are taught in English, so you don't have to worry about language barriers. We do offer foreign language courses, though, if students are interested in learning a foreign language for that location. We have locations for all majors and all minors, and we do offer internships as well. So a little bit of something for everybody. It's flexible. So we offer 3 different programs here at CSULB. And I will try not to confuse you. The first program is our CSULB exchange program for either a semester or a year. So these are through partner universities. You can kind of think of this as like the traditional student exchange program where we send our students to a foreign university and they study there at that school in that location. Our second one is the CSULB semester program. We offer locations in London, Florence, no longer Costa Rica, unfortunately, South Africa, South Korea, and we're also adding Japan. The way you can think about this is basically picking up their course load at CSULB and taking it to a foreign country. So these are taught by a CSULB professor and they are CSULB courses, so they are paying CSULB tuition. And lastly, similar to the semester program is our CSULB faculty-led short-term program. So same idea, but this is going to be over the summer or winter session, typically one class taught over 2 to 6 weeks. So lots of variation based on how long the student wants to go, where they want to go geographically, what they're interested in culturally, and then of course the financial aspect as well. All of these programs do differ in the financial aspect. Which brings me to the financial aspect. It's affordable. So it's super easy to assume that study abroad is very expensive. But because we live in Southern California, we have, as I'm sure you know, one of the highest costs of living globally. So basically, anywhere that the student chooses to study abroad is going to be equivalent, but many times much, much cheaper than living and going to school in Southern California, just because the cost of living is so much lower. So students pay CSULB tuition, so you don't have to think too hard about the conversion for that. We do offer scholarships for all of our programs. If your student receives financial aid, they can apply that to the program. If you have questions specifically about costs, we can go over that, but in the interest of not confusing you too much, typically how the cost breakdown goes is you have the cost of tuition, the cost of the program, and then separately would be the supplemental cost, which is the travel. So students paying for their flights and cost of living. So this would be anything extra that they want to do. If they want to do some personal travel on the weekends when they don't have school, entertainment, groceries, things like that. It's a resume builder. So fewer than 2% of all US college students actually study abroad. So why does that matter? Well, as I'm sure you all know, the job market is very tough and it's only getting tougher. So when students choose to study abroad and put this on their resume, this can really help them stand out. When employers see that students have studied abroad, they can infer that they've built really desirable skills like intercultural competency, flexibility, adaptability, problem solving, communication, and so much more. They really, really have an interest in students who study abroad. I can speak to that personally. I studied abroad and I put this on my resume, and over the past 6 years, that I've interviewed with different people for second and third job, they have all asked me about this, whether they were interested in it on a personal level or a professional level. So this can be very, very helpful. It's invaluable. So this is the really cheesy slide where I talk to students about how much it changes their life. And it's absolutely true, as cheesy as it sounds. For many students that study abroad, it's their first time really living truly on their own. Many students still live at home. They may have some financial responsibility, but when students go abroad, you're living independently for the first time. And, independently, obviously you are with roommates in your class and classmates and things like that. But it's a whole different level of individual living. So they're figuring out how to be on their own, how to navigate a new city with a new culture, new responsibility. Therefore, it really helps them develop a whole personal growth. There's so much personal growth that comes with studying abroad. And this is the part that a lot of students and a lot of parents too don't really realize that comes along with studying abroad. So there's the academic side where of course you learn so much in your courses and the culture, but then there is the self-development side where you learn a lot about yourself. You gain a lot of independence, and therefore, it really does change your life, as cheesy as it sounds. It absolutely changed mine. When I went to study abroad, I was really interested in it as a cultural and fun aspect. And after I spent the summer studying abroad, there were so many self-development things that I just could have never imagined. So, yeah, really is a great opportunity all around. I'm going to skip this slide. These are some of our summer programs. And then this is where I give them information on our website. So we have our website down at the bottom, or you can scan the QR code, although I think the QR code does take you to fill out personal information so that we can contact you. So I would just go to our website at the bottom if you want to check that out. It has a list of all of our programs, information on financial aid, scholarships as well. This would be a great resource to pass to your child if they are interested in studying abroad. We have study abroad advisors in our office. We advise students on everything with study abroad across the board, where they want to go, how they can do it, what their major is, what classes they need to take, how much it costs, how to get over there, everything. So any question that students have, they can come to us and we help them do whatever they need to do to study abroad. And then that is the end of my presentation. So Mia will now walk you guys through our website and give you a little bit more information. You're muted.
I just realized that. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Ellsbury. I am an education abroad advisor for the Asia Pacific region, meaning I help students go abroad on a variety of different programs to Asia, Australia, and the Pacific Islands. So let me see. Uh, Let me go ahead and share my screen real quickly. Um, Okay, so with this, let me go ahead and put this link. This is our website um, into the chat real quick. Okay. All right, so that there right is the link so you can follow along if you want to open or keep the page and to explore for later on. So this right here is our get started page. From here, we recommend the following steps for our students when exploring and looking at what programs are available. First, we recommend for our students to go ahead and attend a study abroad one-on-one workshop. Usually, these are available really early in the semester, um, or we do have them throughout the semester, depending on our different application deadlines. If not, students can also, if we don't have a workshop available, they can go ahead and do drop-in advising with our peer advisors. We do have different peer advisors who are alumni from our programs available, and they can go ahead and get started with meeting with our peer advisors just for general questions. Um, this also is a great way for them to go ahead and start the exploration aspect. So for step two, we do go over, as just kind of went ahead and showcased earlier, the different types of programs that we have. So our exchange programs, they can click here to get a full listing on all our exchange partnerships. Our semester faculty led, this is where they go with the faculty member. They do a full semester. These locations are available. Costa Rica is sunsetting, so we are closing that particular program, but we are establishing new programs this fall. We do have our traditional Florence semester, and we're introducing now Japan and Spain. And then our short-term programs, which are summer and winter faculty-led courses. This is like taking a regular class here. The only difference is you're doing it abroad somewhere else. And so just works with faculty in that area and students interested in those programs. And then there are a couple of others. CSU International Programs. This is a CSU-led program. Um, Very similar to our exchange, where you kind of go almost like a transfer student to a different university and you take courses from their catalog of classes. The difference here is that there is a, I guess, like study abroad department housed in the chancellor's office of the CSU. So this gives more opportunities for students to apply to different programs. It is a little bit more competitive because you are applying for programs and not just I guess competing with other Long Beach students, but now with other CSU students in all 22 campuses. There are a variety of different programs. If a program doesn't work with CSUIP, for example, you can still meet with our exchange advisors to go ahead and help you see what other options are available, either for the upcoming semester or for that same term. And then last would be independent programs. These are usually, let's say, through affiliated third-party programs. These are companies such as Semester at Sea or companies that have study centers that work with other universities abroad. Sometimes this could be also where a student can apply directly to a university that we're not affiliated with. We still help them with the processing of how to get those transcripts submitted or transferred over, or it could be an internship company as well that allows students to intern abroad. So we usually work with our students with independent programs to assist them, usually when they're not directly affiliated directly through us. Um, with this number two step, the search tool I personally enjoy the most would be the advanced search. The advanced search allows students to look for programs based off different parameters. This could be a city, a location, a certain term. If they have a GPA requirement, let's say they're not at a 3.0, but they're slightly right under, they can put down the GPA that they are looking for. But the best one that we recommend for students to look would be based off their major. So if a student, for example, is a Asian American Studies major, or minor, these would be programs that could be available to them. So again, the advanced search allows you to really look and see what is out there based off your major and just going and doing the direct parameters. So this is cinematic arts. As you can see, more schools than do line up. So each of our schools, um, each link has a brochure. All of the brochures look very similar in the sense that there are 5 tabs on the top, an overview of the program, an academics tab, a student life tab, programs, costs, and deadlines. So the overview just kind of skims over what the program is, where it's located, just especially if it's a partner university, facts of the university. Academics will tell students like what majors are required or what majors can go on these programs, the minimum GPA, what modes of instruction, language instruction, so forth, and any academic information needed. Student life allows students to also see more information in regards to living arrangements. Usually, what we end up doing is we try our best to get our alum who go to these programs to answer any questions in regards to that particular program. If they have any personal testimonials, we'll add them onto this page. Program costs. Here we showcase scholarships, financial aid, web pages. We do go and go over cost briefly. We don't go into full detail on some programs only because there could be a variety of variables as to what a student may be paying, whether it's the transportation, such as airfare in comparison one student might have one thing to another. But we do go in and we talk about visa information, insurance information, if we have that. And then dates and deadlines, we go over what the process is, and they have the apply now, so they can start their application process to answer any questions. Or to start the application process to see if they are selected. Once selected, our students then get information on next steps, and they would work directly with those providers. All right, so I see. There were some questions. So, yeah, so for the Costa Rica location, unfortunately, the city we were in was San Jose. We've already closed the semester program. If students are still interested in going to Costa Rica independently, um, we can always work with students to see what kind of programs are available to them. Are there limited places in any of them? To be honest, there are limitations in some locations. I would say the it determines based off the type of program. I would say we have the most spots in our semester faculty-led program because that is ours that uh our program that we establish directly for our students. So it's very customized. Also, our short-term programs, those are customized as well. So we have more spots for those. Exchange is reciprocal, meaning it's always based upon how many students they send us and then how many we can send them. And the capacities that we have. So sometimes some semesters we could be at capacity for some locations more than others. Other semesters it could just be visa regulations that could put limits on our programs. Usually all of those things can be discussed with their students, and we are very transparent from the beginning to let them know how impacted a program could be, and also letting them know the variation of different types of programs that are available to them. Okay, so there was one new question. Can a student walk into the department for more information? Yes, students definitely can do walk-in advising, um, but keep in mind that it is also all determined based upon availability. Sometimes our advisors do have appointments, or if we have peer advisors, they can meet with them, based upon availability. We try to schedule our appointments, for either in person or virtual to give students more, access to us. And that's why doing the drop-in usually online would be best first steps. And then from there we can always assist with scheduling something with them if needed. Um, yes, and I believe Jess also put our information up there, and they can also contact us via email, and we can always go ahead and help them with that as well. Is there someone that could be helpful with semester at sea? Yes. So semester at sea would be under what we call our independent program. We do have an affiliation with them, meaning we are aware of semester at sea. We do send students through semester at sea. So usually we base that and we have you meet with one of our advisors. Yes. Any other questions before? I know there's more steps afterwards, but it goes back to actually applying. So what we tell students, step 3 would be start your online application. Step 4 would be meeting with the study abroad advisor. And then step 5 would be meeting with your academic advisor. So, study abroad advisors are different than academic advisors in the sense that we help line up, knowing exactly what locations would be best matching your educational needs, and letting you know what your options are. Also with, we talked about impacted programs. So all of that all those type of conversations are conversations that we have with them, in that initial meeting. And then from there, when they meet with their academic advisor, it is to go over course curriculum of what they would need as if they were here. So they have a better idea of what they have remaining, what kind of coursework is sequential, or imperative for them to remain on track. And from there, we do meet with our students, not just that one initial time. We meet with them multitude of times to discuss next steps. We try our best to break it down in different steps for them, depending on the program, so that they don't get overwhelmed with a checklist of information. All right, let's see. There were a couple more questions. Yeah. So Jess already put our virtual advising hours with their student assistants. This is where they can meet with our peer advisors. Students can ask questions. Keep in mind, if students are currently not enrolled yet, like if they're coming in the fall, they've been admitted but not in yet. Some of it we may have to wait. There are certain, but if your students are matriculated students, they're attending Cal State Long Beach already, they can come in as early as freshmen to discuss options. So that we can help them kind of plant that seed towards getting a general idea of where they can go. Often our students are eligible to attend programs if they are at a minimum of a second semester sophomore status. So keep in mind, sometimes students come in with AP credit, so that can look different depending on those students. Okay. Any other questions before we conclude?
If y'all have questions, now is the time. We've got folks here to answer them. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or to unmute, whatever works best for you.
Okay. And again, your students, oh wait, can you repeat the requirements for credits? Like for students to be eligible to participate? Is that what you mean, Lauren? Okay. So, students need to be at least sophomore standing, so usually by 30 units minimum. Um, so usually our students anywhere from 30 to about 45 units. We prefer our students to be many of our programs when students come in through here at Cal State Long Beach need to declare their major. We highly recommend for students to be close or already declared in their major. Reason behind it is we want to make sure that they prioritize that and not go on a study abroad program where we don't know if they are in fact going to be declared in that major. Also, because many of the locations, especially our exchange programs, are locations where you take upper division coursework. So we want to make sure our students are successful and complete courses that they are at skill level for. There is still time to get information for fall 26. I would say some locations there, so I can tell you right now, exchange programs in France, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, um, Japan are already closed. We do have a March 9th deadline for some of our other programs. CSUIP has some of their programs still available. They go in through stages. The first stage was closed the 15th of this month. But they reopen for locations that are still available. So there are still many deadlines available for students for fall 26, but some locations have closed, again, due to being impacted. So they had a very limited number of spots to begin with. So usually those are the first ones we close to not, have students think that as time, is still available later in the semester. Okay, so there's a question that says I have a specific question. Their child is a freshman, second semester. He is on track of declaring their major at the end of this term. Should he submit for an application for fall, summer? I would say with summer there are limitations right now, only because um a lot of our programs usually have some deadlines for deposits and things by this point. But definitely they can contact our office. Jess can work with you and just seeing what is still available. There are still some programs for summer that could be available. And then for this upcoming fall, if they are interested, again, it would just be pending on um, I would say the program, and then where they are based off their major. How many students does Spain take per semester? So like I mentioned earlier, we have a Spain semester program, and then that's faculty led. That can take usually about 25 to 30, I want to say. And then we have also CSUIP programs with Spain in Granada, Madrid, Alicante. And then we have exchange programs with in also in Madrid, Alicante, and some I believe Barcelona. With those locations with CSUIP and exchange, we have smaller amounts. I cannot speak on CSUIP just because we don't make those decisions. That would be done through the CSU system office. They would have a better, and again, it's more competitive only because it's open to the whole CSU system and all the universities. So I don't have a specific number, but I do know that our exchange partnerships, Madrid, super competitive, not that many spots, because it's just super popular, and it's based off reciprocal. So we're waiting for students to be sent here from there. But with that said, with some of our programs in Spain, they're English based, so they take coursework in English, and then there are some where coursework is in Spanish. So it's pending on taking courses in a particular language. So it could vary. All right. And then I did have another question come in. When sorry, when should you apply for spring or fall 27? So students usually always apply at least a minimum of a semester prior. So right now, March 9th is our deadline for most of our programs in the fall term. There might be some early deadlines, but again, usually it's about a month or two prior to the big one. Um, so for spring, um, I would say our earliest deadline might be August. So if they're looking at a spring term, if they're looking at a fall term, our earliest would be January, usually of the term of the year before, or the months but prior. So usually about a semester prior. From your experience for students who have signed lease agreements, how do they mitigate the cost while abroad? So lease experiences usually mean our students end up getting either on campus, housing through dormitories. And then there are some locations where students are eligible to do even homestays if that is something that we have established with either an affiliated provider who can set that up for students, or students can go ahead and get housing on their own. We only do that in countries where we know students have a successful rate or there's a lot of housing units nearby. And usually our partner institutions work with them, letting them know of local area housing areas. So usually that I've seen that very successful, like in South Korea. There's just a lot of apartment complexes not too far. But many times our students end up doing housing on campus. But it just again depends on the location. No, sorry. They're leased at Long Beach. So usually what we do, like let's say if they have a lease, when you speak for housing, are you talking specifically dorming?
I think they're talking, yeah, about independent housing. I tried to answer their
Yeah.
question, but just to reiterate, I think it would just depend on each student individually and their financial situation. It's totally up to them. Lots of options. They can, if they're month to month, they can break their lease and choose to move
Yeah.
out and move somewhere new when they come back. Perhaps stay with family when they come back and break their lease. They could sublet their room or their
Hmm.
apartment if that's an option. That would depend again on the landlord or their rental company. So yeah, it just depends on the rental
Yeah.
company, the apartment, their finances, things like that.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same as ju what just mentioned. At that point, if they're each student's going to be different. We have students who live with their parents still. We have students who are dorming, who live on their own. So at that point, it is a thing where students just have to make proper adjustments. Um, just like if they had work or any other requirements, bills, things like that, that they would have to um, prepare for. That's why we also give them a notice of acceptance um, way in advance so that they can prepare and adjust as needed. And they can come in and see us too, so they have a better idea of what to anticipate.
All right, y'all. I think we're at time, but thank you so much, Jess and Mia, for jumping on and talking about education abroad and study abroad opportunities. I hope that you all found that really helpful. And there's many, many links in the chat for you all to navigate if you would like. Before we officially end this, I do want to drop a couple links in the chat and show you all something really quickly about what's next for parent and family programs for the rest of this semester and also going into summer. So this will just be really quick. As far as parent and family programs for spring and summer, the next thing that we have is called Meet the Beach Leadership Mixer. This takes place on Friday, April 24th. This is an in-person event that we have on campus where it's kind of like parent-teacher conferences, but with the principals. So we invite campus leaders to the space where you can talk with them over appetizers, things like that. And this is a completely free event that's taking place on campus. More information will be available about this soon on our Beach Family newsletter. So stay tuned on our newsletter to get all of that updated information. For summer 2026, we offer programming every day for parent and family orientation. If you have not attended orientation or you want some helpful information to help your students succeed, you can join a parent and family orientation session. They happen every day in the summer. Registration for that opens on April 2nd. And we also have virtual webinar sessions very similar to this one, the Beach Family Summit, except they're about an hour in length, and those happen all throughout the summer. So these are with various campus offices. You can see on the left is our beach connections from this past summer. So if any of this is interesting to you or you want help in any of these areas, you can join in one of these for completely free. And as always, all of these sessions are recorded and posted on our YouTube. So you'll be able to see any of these, attend these in June through August, or you can go onto our YouTube page now and look at the previous sessions. And if you have not already, I would really strongly encourage you to sign up for the Beach Family newsletter. The Beach Family newsletter is the primary way that we communicate with you all. So we would really appreciate if you signed up for the Beach Family newsletter to get updates about great events like this and moving forward, any in-person events that we have. But with that, are there any questions that you all have lingering for any of the topics that were discussed today, or do you need any support? You can feel free to unmute, put it in the chat, whatever you would like.
I'm curious what the design programs and design, but I'll let Phoenix deal with that.
Well, thanks very much.
So with the design program, I would definitely recommend that you go onto the website. And if you go onto the CSULB website and you click on the little find icon at the top, it is so insanely helpful. It really shows you everything that we offer on our campus and any support resources for any academic departments. And you can just type in design, and all of the design information for advising, for tutoring, things like that will pop up into their webpage. So that's going to be really helpful for you. Is dorming tax deductible? That is a really good question that I actually don't know the answer to. I would reach out to housing. Their website is pretty awesome, and they have all of that information as well. Let me actually drop their email in the chat for you. Housing, I would definitely ask housing. They'll be able to tell you more about that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This was really awesome webinar. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we will hope to see you at the Meet the Beach Mixer. And if you have any further questions, please email us at pfo@csulb. We are always happy to answer those questions, answer anything that you need. And this presentation, again, was recorded in its entirety, and it'll be posted tomorrow on our YouTube. So until then, I will see you all later. Thank you so much. Have a good night.